Hey, pardon my voice. I wasn't going to make a video today because I'm quite ill right now. But in fact, this might be my last video based on the way I feel right this moment. But I wanted to make a response video to some people that are saying some things about the new Colt Python that's coming out. Some people that don't seem to understand the manufacturing process of firearms and how they differ today from 30, 40 years ago. A lot of people are throwing a fit like it's not going to be like the old Pythons. It's not going to be like the old Pythons. They've changed the trigger, etc. And to those people, I say, I hope so. I have an old Python. And here's a little secret about the old Pythons. One, the trigger mechanism was beautifully smooth, but it was slightly fragile. It wasn't a gun that I would carry every day, period. It was also expensive to make. So they didn't sell like hotcakes, so that's why they weren't made anymore. They didn't stop making them just because, hey, these are popular, let's stop making them. They stopped making them because they weren't selling well, because they're expensive to make, and they were a little bit fragile. If you want one of those old ones because you like something old and you like the antiquity of it and the precision of it, buy an old one. I'm pretty sure the new ones are going to be fucking awesome because I love the triggers on the King Cobra and the Cobra. I think they're better than any Colt trigger I've ever shot. And people are like, oh, you know what you're talking about? I own one of pretty much all the old fucking Colts. I own a single action Army from 1937. I own an original Python, an original Anaconda, original Detective Special, original Magnum Carry. Everyone who's watched my videos for a while knows I own the old ones. The new ones are better as far as the trigger is concerned. They're more durable. They're more usable. I like that. But the main thing people are complaining about is that, oh, they're not hand fit anymore, so now they're just production garbage because they're not hand fit. Back in the day, the Colts were all hand fit. The Pythons were. Yeah, they were. And there was a reason for that. If you understand anything about manufacturing, back in the day, you couldn't manufacture, you couldn't cast or mill two pieces that fit together perfectly. It just wasn't possible. You got them to where they were at a certain level of being close, and then you hand fit this piece to that piece to where this piece's imperfections matched this piece's imperfections, and you got them to blend together. They had to be hand fit because the level of technology we had as far as casting and milling just wasn't what we have today. You could make 100 pieces, none of them would fit together, but you would choose one from each. If you had 100 frames and 100 barrels, you'd choose one frame, one barrel, and you'd make those imperfections match. And then you'd polish it all up. Nowadays, with the technology we have now when it comes to milling, casting, etc., you can make 100 barrels and 100 frames, and every barrel will fit on every frame. They're just so precise now. They're down to the tiniest little imperfections now. And the old guns that were hand fit together, their imperfections were large. They intentionally oversized the connector points because if they tried to make it perfect, they wouldn't work. So they had to hand fit them back down to each other. And it wasn't the same each time because there was such a difference from what they wanted the end product to be in the manufactured product that of course it wasn't going to be the same every time, which is why you couldn't just take a barrel off one gun, stick it on another. Like I said, nowadays, with CNC machining and all the other technologies we have today, the laser mapping of parts, etc., they can produce pieces, 500 of each, and they will all work with each other. They'll require a tiny little bit of fitting. And it doesn't have to go like, well, let's see, this one seems closest to that one. Let's try to make these two together. It's just like any two, you can choose them, a little bit of work, get them to work together. It's just new technology. It's the way we are today. If they put the guns to where they hand fit them, they could still do that if they wanted to produce them in an inferior manner and then hand fit them. But with today's labor rates, the gun would be $5,000, like a Colt, or $3,500, I'd say at least. So, and nobody would want them. So, not being hand fit is not a big deal. It's because the pieces nowadays are made well enough that they don't have to be hand fit. Someone doesn't have to get in there with a file and take care of all the imperfections because the imperfections just aren't there anymore because the process has gotten so much better. So for people who just want to complain about, oh, they're not hand fit, you don't know anything about manufacturing. You just don't. And you don't know anything about gunsmithing, fitting guns, etc. You're just believing shit you hear on the internet or repeating stuff you've heard on the internet. Because if you really knew, you would know it's not a big deal. So if you're worried about the triggers are going to be fucking awesome and based on what the Cobra triggers are. It's going to be a great gun, a gun that you could carry every day and use every day as far as I'm concerned. And I'm betting on that. I haven't shot one yet, but I'm betting on what I've seen them coming out with lately, that just the Python, I can't imagine they'll put less time and effort into it than they did the King Cobras. And those are freaking awesome. I like the old King Cobra my new King Cobra better than my old one. So, if you're worried about the triggers, I wouldn't worry. They're going to be good. If you're worried about the craftsmanship, don't worry. They look like they're going to be awesome to me, just like the Cobras and the King Cobras are. And if you're worried about the hand fitting, don't worry about that, because that's a bunch of nothing that a lot of people who just don't understand the process got themselves all bent out of shape over.
Oops.
Go ahead. It's a lady at 46 South Road. 46 South Road.
One call, street zone that police.
10-4.
Got the floor to go to that location.
This
This is 1-9, is that correct?